Hi guys, how's it hanging? So we finally have some surprise news from Bethesda. They unexpectedly announced a collaboration with Lucasfilm Games and is nothing less than an Indiana Jones game. Something no one was thinking about or expecting, but now that we know it's coming, it is something we desperately need to get our hands on. But of course, before finally getting into the details, drop us a like, and we're asking very nicely, please subscribe if you haven't already. Also hit the bell to stay up to date on everything related to video games. So 2021 has delivered its first surprise of the year, and it's that Bethesda announced a brand new Indiana Jones game. The iconic archaeologist who dazzled so many in the 80s will return to the small screen, or maybe not so small, depending on the monitor you have, in the form of a video game. Machine Games, a company that is part of Bethesda, in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games, is preparing a new game with a whole new story for the character created by George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. Let's also remember that the people at Machine Games are responsible for the games in the Wolfenstein saga, so it seems that things are looking pretty good considering that it's the last good game that Indiana Jones had as the main character was the Lego game, and that was 13 years ago. Wow, 13 years. Fortunately, Indy's loss has been our gain, as the lack of any Indiana Jones games meant there was a gap in the market for a treasure-hunting archaeologist adventurer, a gap which was ably filled by Nathan Drake of Uncharted, undoubtedly one of the best games in the genre. Now, we don't think it's unreasonable to say that Nathan Drake is the Indiana Jones of gamers, since many of us have grown up with his adventures. But while the Uncharted saga seems to be over, even though Naughty Dog still haven't quite closed the door on his adventures, having Indiana Jones back on our consoles and PCs sounds pretty good. Of course, as always, there are more questions than answers around the announcement. The most important of which is, as this is being developed by Bethesda, will it be exclusive to PC and Xbox? Benji Sales, a reputable analyst, indicated in a tweet that it seems it won't be an exclusive because the agreement would have been signed before Microsoft bought Bethesda. But for us, that doesn't seem like something that is set in stone, looking at other game franchises across different platforms. Also, money talks, right? So we are sure that if there is money to be earned from this on PlayStation, then we are pretty sure the game will be available for it. What seems to be clear is that this will be on Game Pass from day one. Indiana Jones will be the big comeback at Lucas Games, which once created great games like Secret Weapons of the Luftwaffe, the X-Wing Saga, TIE Fighter, the first Battlefront, which later went to EA, who then screwed everything up. So considering their history, the return of the company is a good thing for everyone. However, if you ask us, we aren't entirely convinced by this one, as one of the people who is working on it is Todd Howard, who has already participated and fucked up sagas like Fallout or The Elder Scrolls. In fact, he's also working on The Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield. The man isn't short of work at the moment, but Indiana Jones deserves to be good, and one positive is that Todd will only be a producer and not a creative director. As we told you at the beginning of the video, one of the things to keep in mind is that it will be a totally new story, and not an adaptation of any of the films, and from here we can only hope that, at least, it will be better than the latest film. What a fucking shit movie. According to the small teaser they released, it seems that the action, or much of it, will take place in Rome, and, taking a stab in the dark, and hey, this is just a guess, but more than likely the bad guys are the Nazis. The people at Machine Games like to kill Nazis, and Indiana Jones has always been fighting them, so game on. Now, we here at Zoomin Games are a simple folk. We don't ask for much, so here's our wish list for the game. First is that the story needs to be linear and without too much travelling to different parts. I mean, games like Tomb Raider, which could be compared to this one, gave you the option of a big open world, but we feel Indiana Jones demands something more linear. Good long story rather than a shorter one with more possibilities of secondary quests. Second is the game needs to be playable in third person and not at all in the first person, because this is what a game with these characteristics asks for. Also, secondary characters that are up to the standard of the movies, and the music needs to be done by John Williams. Oh, and of course, we all need a scene with snakes just to get the stomach churning. This announcement fills us moviegoers with happiness because it comes right after the last announcement of the James Bond video game that is being developed by IO Interactive, the creators of the Hitman saga, or Hogwarts Legacy, the open world game developed in the world of Harry Potter we've all been waiting for since we played the Philosopher's Stone on our first PlayStation. Bad part of all this is that they have said not to wait for any more information soon. So this seems to be just the beginning, and it looks like we will have to wait many years in order to play its final version. I mean, who wants to get caught up in the hype? have their hopes built to an unimaginable degree only to have the game rush through to meet some arbitrary deadline to cash in on those poor fans and then have those expectations cruelly crushed by the shitty, buggy gameplay. Looking directly at you, Cyberpunk. Of course, hype sells. That's marketing 101. But I think we all have learnt a valuable lesson in the last few months, and let's hope that we remember what it felt like when the release date of Indiana Jones is announced. As much as we are looking forward to this, we would rather wait a bit longer and let the developers get it right. Coming back to the subject of the movies, Star Wars fans are also in luck because this week a new game in the franchise was also announced that will be developed jointly by Ubisoft Massive and Lucasfilm. A new open world adventure that has huge promise with the same developer as The Division 2 in charge. They say it will be a cinematic adventure, but they did not say much more. Now we just have to wait for the game to work and that the people at Ubisoft don't go to the dark side and crush the force with the weight of their bugs. So the really big news here is that this is how EA loses the exclusivity of the Star Wars games. Luckily, but Lucasfilm Games have said that they will continue working with them. This year really is looking like the relaunch of Lucasfilm Games. In just 1 week we already have 2 new games with the promise of more to come. What game would you like to see announced? What did you think of this ad? Do you think it will meet expectations? What do you think of the companies announcing things so early? Will it be exclusive to Xbox and PC? Tell us in the comments. We need to know. And see you very soon, family.